Chris.
And Shonda.
And welcome to DinkLife.
So today we're taping another in our Japan travel series. I'm not drinking today because we are actually taping this on our lunch hour from work. So we still have a couple more hours of our workday to get through. So probably not a wise idea if we drink while we're doing this one.
No, not at all.
But anyway, I'm not sure what day we're on of the travel series. It seems like 5,642. But it was our last official day in Osaka. And we did take a day trip to Hiroshima. Mm-hmm. So that is basically what we will be talking about with you today. Our trip to Hiroshima. So, one might say this was maybe not the most happy of days.
No, not a happy place.
No, in our travel. But I am a person that thinks, history is very important and you can't really ignore it. I've been to Pearl Harbor. I have been to the Holocaust Museum. And this was just somewhere that I felt like I needed to see.
Yeah, it was really worth seeing.
Yeah. So basically, we got up first thing in the morning because it was our last full day. Just like we talked about in one of our other videos, we had to ship our luggage back to Tokyo.
Yeah.
So Wes took care of that this time. Our hotel didn't do it like they did in Tokyo, but right behind the hotel was a 24-hour Lawson's. Yep. And he was able to ship the luggage out of there. So you can sort of talk about how that went.
Yeah, I think our hotel did it, but don't think they did it until like 10 a.m. It was real late or something.
Oh, it was like noon.
It was real late, and we ended up leaving. I shipped the luggage. I'm pretty sure it was at 6 a.m. in the morning.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when I went to the Lawson's, that Lawson's gets really busy right there in Universal City Walk. But at that time, I was the only person in the store. I don't know if the place was open 24 hours, but it was open at 6 a.m. They had already like 3 people on staff, and there was nobody in the store. And the 2 guys inside, they were really nice. They couldn't speak very much English, so we had to use a lot of translator stuff. But basically, I just showed them my address off my phone, and they wrote the stuff in. And we got all the information filled out, and pretty much they wheel it into the back room and ship it out from the Lawson's.
Yep. And again, as Americans, you were always sort of scared to leave your personal belongings with people.
Yeah.
But, I have to tell you, we got to the Tokyo Hilton the next day, and yet again, our luggage was right there. And
yeah, it was perfect, right on time.
It was delivered to our room minutes after we arrived.
Yep.
So, again, I cannot recommend enough if you are taking something bigger than a carry-on. Definitely use the luggage shipping there because it's fairly inexpensive. It was under $50.
Yeah, and it saves you a lot of pushing bags around and stuff.
Yeah, and as much as you use public transportation in Japan, it's just nice not to have to worry about it.
About carrying around big bags.
So we did that, and then we left for Shin Osaka Station, took the subway or the trains to Shin Osaka.
Yep.
And then we took a bullet train to Hiroshima, which I believe was about an hour and 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I think we stopped a couple of times on the way there.
Yeah, it was less stops than when you go from Tokyo to...
Yeah, because that's a longer ride.
Yeah.
But again, we are creatures of habit, so we grabbed our egg sandwich and our potato chips for breakfast. And just got comfortable and took the train to Hiroshima. So once we got to Hiroshima, the really cool thing is they've got a lot of buses there, but they've also got street trolleys. Kind of like I'm guessing we're in San Francisco here.
Yeah.
Yeah, very comparable to that. They have a lot of them in Canada too, I think. But they were really cool. And they had some old ones that had been refurbished, which were really cool to look at. So you just hop on one of those. Now those do make quite a few stops. Probably I would say as many as city buses.
Yeah, it was, like we didn't travel a very far distance and it took a while to get to the Peace Park.
Yeah, I would say it took about 20 minutes and there were probably 7 or 8 stops at least on the way there. But it's a nice little ride and, we'd never been to Hiroshima, so it was nice to see the city. One thing I will say that is very strange is just being somewhere where the entire city it has only existed since 1945.
Yeah.
All the buildings, everything. I mean, it's just a very, very strange feeling.
Yep.
And I know how I felt when I went to Pearl Harbor. It was kind of the same thing. It's just very, I wouldn't say sad. They've rebuilt.
It's a very pretty city.
It's a beautiful city, and they just want to be peaceful.
Yeah.
But it's I don't even know. I can't describe the feeling.
It's a hard place to talk about.
It is. It's a hard place to see. It's a hard place to talk about.
A lot of emotions there.
Yeah, but it's just necessary.
Yeah.
I mean, it's totally necessary. So the first stop that we made was to the Peace Park, Hiroshima Peace Park. And there's a river running right through the middle of it. So it's beautiful. There were a lot of trees. There were a lot of monuments, statues.
When you come in, you walk past the Atomic Dome.
Yeah, the one building that is left standing from the war. Yeah. Obviously, it's in tatters, but it is a historic monument, and so they have left it standing in the condition that it was in.
Yep.
When the atomic bomb hit, that was like ground zero. You know? So that's why that building is the only thing left standing. And then the other thing that's in the park, which is really lovely, is sort of like an eternal flame, like the Olympic torch.
Yeah,
really and they have sort of vowed not to put that out until there are no more nuclear weapons existing in the world.
Yeah.
So it's probably going to be burning forever at this rate.
Probably.
Which is sad. But it's really beautiful. And I will say that even in the park surrounding the museum, everybody was very quiet and very respectful.
Yeah, it's a very quiet place.
Yeah, there was not a lot of running around, shouting, talking.
No.
People were very somber, and rightfully so.
Mm-hmm.
It's just sort of the feeling of the place. A lot of people were praying.
Yeah.
So, you just don't want to interrupt them. From there, we actually went to the museum, the actual museum that stands on the property. And man, I gotta tell you, I don't know if it's all museums over there, but it was dirt cheap.
Yeah.
It was like 250 yen, which is what, like $1.80?
It was 200, I'm pretty sure.
200.
Yeah, 200. It was even cheaper.
It was like less than $2 American.
Yeah.
For what turned into, I think we were in there for like 2 hours at least, 2.5 hours.
Yeah, we were there for a while, yeah.
But man, that place will just rip your heart right out and stomp all over it.
Also about getting there, at least from what we read, you do want to get there early because the line for the museum can get extremely long. So that was one of our main reasons to get there real early and just do that right away, first thing.
Yes, there was not a long line when we got there, but it was busy.
No, but the first main room that you kind of come to, it packs up with people because it's a lot of emotional stuff in that room.
Yeah, so when you first walk in, there's like a sort of big, it's not a diorama, but it's kind of like that. It's like the earth, but with elevations and things like that. And it shows you what it looked like prior to the bomb hitting. And then the bomb hits.
It's like an aerial view of the city.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then it kind of is all just destroyed. So right off the rip, it's like you're getting punched in the gut.
Yeah.
And then from there, it's just like the worst. You turn a corner and walk into a room with all of these toys and children's clothing. And it
people's glasses, with the frame,
it's
with the
so
glass
hard to look
yeah.
at. We were wearing masks. In a way, I was kind of grateful for that because I was crying, and snot was running down my face, and like the tears were just pouring. It's very hard. It's very hard to look at. But gosh, I mean, it's just so necessary.
Yeah.
People need to know what happened, and people need to see what happened.
Yeah.
From there were just many other rooms telling the stories of the people who maybe lived a few days and then died from radiation or burns, or people who lived for years and died later of cancer or some disease related to the radiation. But it was pretty bad.
Yeah.
I mean, it really was. It's one of those places I don't ever need to go to again. I sort of feel that same way about the Holocaust Museum. I assume I would feel that way if I went to a concentration camp, which we hopefully will get to one day.
Yeah.
But having said that, I highly recommend.
Yeah, if you're near it, for sure go to it.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just
It's worth seeing.
It's so moving, and
yep.
You know, I just think it's something that everybody needs to see.
Yeah.
So after we left there, I kind of needed to compose myself and just sort of walk off the feelings, I don't really know how else to describe it. And it was getting to be lunchtime. So we had seen another video where this couple had eaten at this place that had a bunch of different food stalls, and it was called Okonomimura. The food, it was like a food court.
Yeah. Yep.
Only it was on levels rather than it
levels,
being, spread out over one place. It was probably 4 or 5 stories.
Yeah.
And there was one thing specifically we wanted to try, which was Hiroshima style okonomiyaki.
Yeah.
It's a mouthful.
Yeah, it's a lot.
And we went up and we were specifically looking for this place that they had eaten. But what we discovered when we got there was like all of the stalls were serving
pretty much
okonomiyaki.
Yeah.
So it was just basically like you pick one. There was only 5 or 6 seats around each grill. So you basically just pick the one you thought looked the best or the one with the most people, which usually in Japan is a guaranteed good place to eat. And then they make it on the grill right in front of you. If you're not familiar with what it is, it starts with, Hiroshima style, starts with a bed of noodles.
Yeah.
And then it's got like a pancake on top. It's got scallions, bacon. There are some other things that you can get in there, and then they put like a sauce on top of it. I couldn't tell you what that is. I don't know if it was hoisin. It kind of had a little bit of a taste of hoisin.
Yeah, it was like hoisin a little bit, yeah.
And then they crack an egg under there and cook it on top of that and flip it over. We have video.
Yeah.
It's really cool. And then they give you the whole thing. It's probably about this big.
It's a lot of food.
It's huge. And a little spatula that you can cut it up with right off the griddle. It was delicious.
Yeah, and they leave it right on the griddle so it stays warm and it's melting the whole time, the cheese through it.
Yeah, I would 100% recommend eating that again. I am so glad that we went there.
Yeah, it was really good. They gave you a couple hot sauces to put on it too.
And we had beer, of course.
Yeah.
But it was a lot of food, and it's really filling. And it wasn't terribly expensive. I mean, I think the beers and both of our okonomiyaki cost like
might have been like
$20.
Yeah, it wasn't that much.
Yeah, it really wasn't expensive at all. So highly worth it. It's a little hard to find. It's off the beaten path if you don't know where it is. But if you just look for the food court, you'll find it.
Yeah, and I'll put the address in the description.
Yeah, we put it in Google and we just walked straight over there.
Yep, that's how we went to it.
Yep. So from there, they also have a couple of corridors, just like Osaka or the food market that we were at in Kyoto.
Yeah.
They're very long, blocks long, just stalls. And they're selling all kinds of things. Shoes,
and they have
clothes.
A covered roof.
Yeah, there's a covered roof so you're not out in the blazing sun all day.
Yep.
And anything you could possibly want, I think you can find in there. Of course, we found more gachapons.
Oh, yeah. There was all kinds of stuff. I think there was even more of the pet cafes in there and all that stuff.
Yeah, there was even like a karaoke bar where you could go in and dress up in a costume and like sing karaoke. So we spent, a little bit in there because I will say that the food stalls are not air conditioned.
It was hot in there, yeah.
It was quite warm in that food stall, and once we left there, Wes was about to pass out.
Oh, yeah, and you are sitting, like, right on top of a griddle.
Yeah, so we sort of just needed to walk around and get some fresh air, and just kind of shake off the morning, the mood of the morning. Yeah. So we just did a little bit of walking around, checked out some more of the city, and then we had also seen on somebody else's vlog about a park in the middle of the city called Shukkeien Gardens. So we wanted to make sure we found that place because it looked beautiful from the videos.
Yeah, it looked really. Yeah, and then we didn't really go to any of the gardens while we were there.
No, I'm laughing because not to knock anybody else, but the video we were watching talked about how it was so expensive to get in this park.
Yeah.
It was pricey and. If you didn't have a lot of money, you probably wouldn't want to go.
Yeah.
And so we were like, what the heck, but we wanted to see what it was all about. So we get there and it was like
it was probably
260 yen.
Yeah, it was like nothing.
Not even $2 American. So I don't know, probably for some people that seems like a lot of money to pay to get into a park.
But it was an amazing park.
It was beautiful, and I'm sure the reason they charge the money is to keep the grounds up.
Oh yeah, it was like a higher quality park than you see here in the States.
Yeah, I mean, it was absolutely stunning. I mean, there were koi everywhere. There were little monuments everywhere. The cherry blossoms were blooming. They had some kind of bonsai festival going on where they were like pruning and selling trees.
Yep, koi fish.
Yeah, it was absolutely beautiful. And we could have spent longer, but we probably spent at least an hour walking around there.
Yeah, we had a hell of a time. Make sure when you go to it though, don't try to... Since it is like a paid park, you can't come in from like a side into the park. You have to come through the front entrance and pay at that location.
Yeah, no lie. We wandered around.
We probably walked
once we got to the area, once we actually got to where knew the park was, we probably wandered around for another 20 minutes just trying to figure out how to get in.
We probably walked a mile out of our way just to try to get in the front entrance to the park.
Yeah, I mean, it wasn't a big deal. It was a beautiful day out. But it's just funny the things you get lost.
I mean, you would have thought, a park here, you're like, oh, I can come in through the back side or something. But there it's like, no, there's a fence around the thing and only one entrance in.
Yeah, like if you're in New York, there's 100 different ways to get to Central Park, right?
Yeah.
So, I mean, it was a little strange, but
just honestly, watch out for that, though.
Yeah, since you have to pay to get in, you've got to find the front entrance, which that was one thing we weren't counting on.
Nope.
But we did wander around the garden for a while. It was absolutely beautiful. But, Hiroshima, I will say this, it's not a huge city. There's not probably a ton else to do there. If your main reason you're going is for the park, I think the other main thing was to go out to those, I can't think of it, it's like the shrine on the coast there, but we thought about doing it. The problem was it's an hour boat ride each way to get to it, so you will eat up like a chunk of your day. You could possibly do it, but yeah, there's a boat right from where the Peace Park is that goes out to it, but it's an hour each way. Mm-hmm. Oh, and the good thing also, too, is that those streetcars and all the transportation, yet again, in Hiroshima, you can either use your JR Pass or your Suica card, one or the other, whichever you're traveling.
We didn't have to get anything special.
So again, we didn't have to buy anything else. We didn't have to spend any more money than we had already spent.
No, we were worried about that. We didn't know about that, but the Suica card worked perfect.
Well, and those little trolleys are inexpensive anyway.
Yeah.
So even if you did have to use cash, if you didn't have a Suica card, it's not very expensive, and once you get on, the price is the same if you're going 1 stop or 12 stops.
Yeah. Yep.
So that was not a big deal.
Yep. You just pay to get on them.
Right. So from there, we kind of were just worn out. I would say more emotionally than physically.
Yeah.
It had just really sort of been an exhausting day. So we decided to try to go back a little early. I think originally our train tickets back were for 6 p.m.
Yeah.
And it was only like 4 o'clock when we got done in the gardens. So we kind of were like, let's just go back to the station and see if we can get an earlier JR pass.
Yes.
Now we did scramble because we were cutting it really close. And I will tell you that the lines, no matter where we were to get those JR passes, were long.
Yeah, they were long, but they moved.
But they do move very quickly. So don't get discouraged, even if the line is like doubled back on itself.
Yeah.
You're only probably going to wait about 10 or 15 minutes. So I just say just get in it and wait.
Yep.
So we did manage to actually get 2 seats on a train that left an hour earlier, and I think we had about 10 minutes to spare.
Yeah, it was about 10. Yep.
We cut it really close, but we made it. So we did get back to Osaka a little earlier than we had anticipated, but it was nice because we got to go back to Wolfgang Puck's and spend our last night with our favorite bartender.
Yep.
Yet again. So... we kind of just had a drink and hung out with him. And then, I can't remember, did we eat again that day or not?
I think we had another snack there or something.
But I don't think we ate dinner. I don't think we ate anything massive, because that Okonomiyaki
it was
will
really
keep you
filling.
full for
I was
a very
stuffed
long
afterwards.
time. Yeah. Because it's a lot of carbs and, bacon and stuff, you will stay full for quite a long time.
Yep.
So, maybe we bought some snacks at the convenience store. I don't even remember.
We didn't really eat much, That filled us up for pretty much the rest of the day.
But that kept us busy through the evening, and that was pretty much our entire day.
Yep.
We then went back to our room and packed up everything because the next morning we were heading back out to go back to Tokyo. And our next stop, which we'll talk about in our next video, which was Tokyo Disney Resort.
Yep.
So this was just our day. Again, please feel free to do whatever you want. These are just our recommendations. And as always, just remember, whatever you decide to do, just get out there and do it.